welcome back to Deep Dive with Charlie Murray. This is episode 2, and we're coming to you live, or not so live, but we're coming to you from Christchurch, New Zealand. And this episode is going to be all about nutrition. So hydration, nutrition, race day nutrition, training nutrition, general off-season nutrition. We're going to go into everything that I eat, everything that I put in my body to fuel myself and make sure that I'm operating at the highest level I can. Let's jump straight in. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. Also, if you could do us a huge favour and please hit the subscribe button. Most people watching the videos don't hit the subscribe button, but it makes a huge difference if you do, because then we can bring more good content like this to you guys and we can have more resources to actually answer the exact questions you want to know. So please hit that subscribe button, that would mean the world to us. And let's jump straight into nutrition. A bit of background, I am a professional enduro mountain biker. So enduro is when you race downhill stages during a day, sort of like rally, you have different stages and a liaison between. So it means you have really high intensity parts of your day, parts of your race that are sort of max heart rate zones, putting in heaps of effort for a short period of time. And then we have the liaisons, which are more zone 2, sort of steady state exercise that goes on for hours. So we're usually out for 5 or 6 hours, and that'll have probably 90% steady state heart rate, sort of zone 2 to 3, and then 10% of zone 5 and above heart rate. So that's the overview of the sport. And myself, I've been racing for Specialized and professionally for 5 years now. This will be my 5th year, and I've learned heaps about nutrition. I started as a complete novice and had no idea what I was doing, and I still am not perfect, but I've made huge leaps and bounds in terms of progress in the last 4 or 5 years. So we're going to wind the clock right back, and I'm going to share a few things. We've actually got a dog barking, so hopefully you guys can't hear that. I'm going to wind the clock back and talk about when I first started out racing. I was mentored by Bernard Kerr and Eddie Masters, who are 2 top racers. Eddie's from New Zealand, he lives in Queenstown, and Bernard spends his time in Queenstown. He's actually from the UK, down in McKinleth, near Dovey Bike Park. So those boys were awesome. They took me on board and supported me for a year, helped me travel around to the races, and gave me heaps of advice on how to race the best. What I learned from Eddie was basically, he gets pretty into the fueling. He's not scientific like some of the sort of triathletes are, but he started me on the sort of hydration program, and we'd just sit down at breakfast and scull a litre of cold water to start the day when it was a hot race, because he obviously knew that you needed water to perform. But now I've actually learned that's not exactly the way to do it. You actually want to have in the morning some water with some salts or some electrolytes in it. Electrolytes are mostly just salts, but of the correct amounts and types. So you often have a bit of magnesium, a bit of potassium, sodium chloride is your typical table salt. So you want to be getting that in, because that's what your body uses to fire across its muscle synapses, or synapse, depending on what country you're from. So those synapses will have a chemical gradient, and those chemicals, obviously your salts, have to be in there to make those muscles and those neurons fire. So essentially all your muscle health and your brain health and nerve function all comes from that. So if you're low on salt, that's why you get cramps, your muscles don't know what to do, the gradient gets built up on the wrong side of them, and they won't fire, they go into a sort of unstable contraction sort of state. So that's obviously the lack of salt. So you want to be eating food ideally that has some salt in it, and then drinking electrolytes throughout the day. So just generally, if you are not exercising today, so today's a rest day, or you've got to go to work for 8 hours, you might do a little bit of exercise, a little bit of walking at lunch or between clients, or maybe you're biking to work but you're not really doing a full hard workout. I would recommend you still have some electrolyte. Like every morning it's pretty good to have, half a litre, a glass or 2 of water with some electrolyte in it, or just a sprinkle of salt, dash of lemon, and a little bit of honey or something. That will also give you some of those key minerals that will help you out. So like obviously good salts. Your table salt, depending on where it's from, isn't always the best quality. It can be, in some parts of the world, better than others. Himalayan pink rock salt, pretty good. Not the best, but good. And then I think the best sort of salts is the the Baja Gold and the Celtic Sea Salt are 2 different salts that are really good. So if you have a packet of that by your kettle or by your tea drawer or coffee or whatever, and you sprinkle a bit of that in your water in the morning, that's actually going to be really good for helping your brain function and your whole body process everything it needs to do during the day. So even when you're not training, I'll do that, or every second day, you know. If you are training, definitely hit the electrolytes in the morning before you head out on your training session. Or if you're training in the afternoon or evening, same thing. Hit half a litre of electrolyte before you head out, just before you start your session, and that'll help sort of bridge that gap over the start of the session. We've got a pretty annoying dog barking. Not much we can do about it. We'll keep chipping away. If you hear the dog barking, apologies. Around the home, I have a bit of electrolyte every now and again, or just a sprinkle of salt in my water once or twice a day. So not every time you have water, but just in the morning, it's pretty good. After you've spent the night using that salt, we've got a whole chorus of dogs going now, a choir. I wonder if they ever get sick of barking. So hydration's key. When you're out on the bike, it's even more important. I usually run 2 bottles on my road bike and say on my XC bike, and then 1 bottle on the enduro bike. On the road bike, I'll have a bottle of electrolyte and then a bottle of carb drink. The carb drink has electrolytes in it too, but the electrolyte is just electrolyte, so just salts and minerals. And the carb drink is the same, but with carbohydrate added. So sugar or carbs, basically, it doesn't really matter. And that is just to try and keep your body with some available fuel source in your bloodstream. Because if your body has to get carbohydrate out of its muscles and liver, is where it stores a lot of it, then it takes longer and you can't replenish it as easily. So if it is readily available in the bloodstream when you're exercising, it's the best place for it to be. And then your liver stores will stay fuller for the whole day, and mean you can still attack after 5 hours of riding. Whereas if you don't eat anything, you'll get to 5 hours of riding, you'll have nothing left, and you'll have to start burning fats, and you'll have to slow down your heart rate and your speeds considerably. So it is important to fuel, even though some people think it's good to get the fat burning system going. It is every now and again, but if you really want to make gains in your training and make your muscles stronger, you have to be fueling. Someone my weight, like a gram per kg per hour. So if I'm, let's say, 80 kg, I'm about 78 kg. So let's say I'm 80 kg, that's 80 grams an hour. Pretty safe bet. I mean, that's not elite. Someone who is like a road cyclist at my weight would be on 100 grams or 120 grams an hour. But for general people and most sports, 80 grams an hour, so a gram per kg, is really good place to start. And you probably can't actually start there, but you can get there after a few weeks. You could probably want to start half that, and then the next session a little bit more, and then after a week you'd go up, step it up again, and eventually you get to that level. Because to process 80 grams of carbs can be quite hard, and it's a lot of eating. So I'll break down a few simple foods for you guys. A biscuit, like for example, any sort of packet biscuit or a ginger nut or something. I often train on ginger nuts. That's about 10 grams of carbs. So you'll need 8 of those per hour, which is quite a lot of ginger nuts. And then a muesli bar is about 30 grams of carbs, and a large muesli bar is maybe 50 grams. So you might need, one large and one normal size muesli bar each hour, or maybe three normal muesli bars per hour. So quite a lot of food. And then you can substitute that with carb drink, and my carb drink's usually 30 grams per bottle. I'll only just have one during my ride, because the problem is it's quite hard to carry carb with you. I can carry a sachet and fill it up, but I don't often stop. So I just start with a 30 gram carb bottle. Basically, it's about 3 or 4 scoops of my carb drink into the bottle. And I'm not sponsored by anyone for nutrition in 25, so I'm just running whatever I get my hands on. At the moment, I've got some stuff from Pure, which is pretty good. I think Pure is a New Zealand company, and then More Watts is also a New Zealand company running some of their carb drink as well. Just because people have hooked me up with different stuff over the years, so I just run that, but it doesn't really matter. I'm not too picky. I try and get the stuff that's tested, especially during season, have the batch tested stuff, because then when you get drug tested at races, you want to know that your carb drink and your protein drink has been tested each batch, so it doesn't have any contaminants in it. But yeah, so try and run those, especially during the season. I only strictly run the tested stuff, but in the off season, it's not as important. I just sort of run what I can afford or what people have given me. But yeah, start with 1 bottle of carb drink on the bike and then just sip away at that during the ride. But I'll often eat heaps in the first hour and second hour and then have the carb drink towards the end because it's just easy to get on board without having to chew too much. So yeah, I often start the ride. If it's only an hour long, I might not eat. I'll just eat when I come back. But if it's anything over an hour, I'm definitely fueling. And I'll start fueling in that first hour because I know I want to have energy for the second hour and third hour and fourth hour and sometimes fifth hour. So yeah, that's basically the riding overview. In terms of nutrition at home, I try and eat pretty calorie dense foods. So that means quite a lot of like fats, good fats, lots of proteins, and obviously try and hit the fruit, veg and fibre a bit. And after training, I'll have some carbs or some sugars or something. Like you can have some honey on toast, some cereal, you can have some fruits, smoothie. It's pretty available energy. So that's quite good after training. But if I'm not training, if I'm having a rest day, I'll probably not eat too much sort of carb and sugar because that's pretty much in our diet anyway. So you do get quite a lot on board. And if I eat carbs, I have to eat huge volumes because I'm probably consuming, the normal calorie consumption for a male is probably like, well, the recommendation anyway is probably 3,000 calories or 2,500. And I think female is 2,000 calorie. I probably am hitting like some training days like 5,000 calories. So that's a lot of eating. That can be like an hour or two of chewing each day. And it's not the most enjoyable sometimes. You're just always feeling hungry. So just eat the more calorie dense stuff because then your stomach doesn't fill up with a whole lot of bread or rice or whatever. And then you just have like, an avocado with a little bit of toast or some avocado and some eggs, which is just really high in calories. Cook with butter a lot and olive oil when it's not too hot, but when the pan's hot, I avoid the oils and use butter more. It's a bit better for you apparently. I'm not an expert. I just sort of gather some rough information and try and make a pretty livable general rule that I follow, but it's not very strict. But yeah, eat those whole foods as well. Like try not to eat too much stuff that comes in a packet. Every now and again you do, and you're traveling, you need easily accessible food, and you don't always have access to what you want. But when I'm at home, I'm always trying to eat like whole foods, like vegetables, meats. We eat quite a lot of wild meat because we do a bit of hunting here in New Zealand and have friends with farms, so we try and eat wild meat as it's a bit better for you. It doesn't have any additives or antibiotics or anything, so eat a bit of that, a bit of fish, and yeah, I do eat dairy, eat quite a lot of eggs, avocados. What else? Just high density stuff, cheese as well. So I think that's important. If you're training a lot, you need to be making sure you're getting enough calories into your system. So yeah, and then when I'm obviously on the bike, it's just all biscuits, muesli bars, sometimes gels. Racing is always gels, not always gels from training just because they don't taste so good. But on a race day, I'll usually have a few bottles of carb drink. At lunchtime, I'll have a packet of chocolate biscuits because that's the only thing I can stomach. I actually got this advice from myself by mistake because a friend, Ali, who's an incredible downhill rider, you've probably heard of Ali Hasselbosch, her dad came up to me and said, Ali really struggles to eat before races, so what should she do? How do you do it? And I just said, well, I think the thing is you just need to eat something you really enjoy. It doesn't matter if it's particularly healthy, it's just for, 1 day a month or 1 day a week, just for your race day. I'm just like, go out and buy your favourite cereal or your favourite breakfast food. It could be a smoothie, it could be Cocoa Pops, it could be anything like that, and just have that with milk race morning, and I bet you'll be able to eat it because you actually enjoy it. If you're trying to eat a healthy quinoa salad for breakfast, it's going to be hard to get through. It's going to be hard to chew, and you're not going to feel like eating. But if you have something that's easy to digest and you actually enjoy it, you'll eat it. He said, all right, thanks. So then they went out, they bought her favourite cereal or whatever they did, and she said it worked. She can eat breakfast before the race now, because before she would just have one bite and leave it. So then I started thinking, because I was in the races and we'd always have like a sort of rice and vegetable lunch during the sort of we have like a mechanical window. During the middle of the day, we can come back to the pits for about an hour, get the bike worked on, we can have a reset, have some food and fuel, and some hydration. And I was like, okay, in this window, we've been having this rice and vegetables, and I haven't really been enjoying it, haven't really been able to eat it, just doesn't taste good, I'm not feeling like eating because I've been exercising really high intensity. So I just took my own advice and I went out to the supermarket and I just bought 2 packs of chocolate biscuits, put them in the pits, and then I came back and I just ate like half a pack of chocolate biscuits in one hit and instantly felt better. And then I'd just go out for the afternoon of racing and I'd have all that fuel on board. It's just sugars and carbs. It's exactly what your body's burning when it's racing and training. And I suddenly had energy for the second half of the day because I was eating better. And that was a game changer for me. So that would be my advice during your race day. Don't worry if it's not particularly healthy, as long as it's fuel. Like chocolate biscuits, perfect example of something that you can easily digest and get energy out of. So that would be my main advice for, sort of during a race. And obviously if you're racing at intensity the whole race, we have these periods where we can chill and have lunch. But some people, like triathlon or whatever, you're racing intensity for your whole race. You're going to have to hit gels and stuff that you can actually eat on the bike. So yeah, stuff in your pocket, gels, gummies, whatever. I hit gels when I'm racing. I often have a couple of gels throughout the day, maybe 3 gels, sort of supplemented in with my muesli bars and biscuits. And then before the last stage, I occasionally have like half a caffeine gel. I'll usually half it with Waxer. So I get the top and we just have half a caffeine gel each and then race the last stage. And it's quite good because you actually crash from caffeine, so you don't want to hit it too early on in your race. If you do, you have to keep bumping it up. So if you're hitting caffeine gels in your first hour, every next hour you've got to hit a caffeine gel. But if you wait till the end, you can just get away with hitting 1 or 2. So if you start with caffeine gels, don't go onto normal gels after that because your performance will drop off. So yeah, I sometimes hit the caffeine gel. It also makes it really hard to sleep at night if you're hitting one of those at the end of the race. So sometimes I just hit normal gels, which is basically 30-40 grams of carbs in a sachet, just easy to hit, doesn't taste amazing, quite strong, wash it down with some water. And some of them have salts in them as well, which is great. Because you do need salts, especially when you're out for 6 hours sweating. And often at lunch I'll just have a little bit of table salt, stir it into like a 2 centimeters water in a cup, and just scull it, and then wash it down with normal water. And that's quite good to have sort of halfway through the race, just to make sure your salt levels are high, because otherwise you start cramping in the afternoon. So I feel like I've pretty much covered a lot about nutrition in this episode so far. If you have any questions, we can do a deep dive on this later, but I hope that's a really good starting point. Obviously that sort of 1 gram per kg of body weight per hour. So for someone 80 kg, 80 grams of carbs an hour is a good window to hit. It's super easy to tell how many carbs are in each thing. Everything on the back of its packet will basically tell you per 100 grams how many grams of carbs. So you know if it's, let's say it's 50 grams of carbs per 100, it's 50% carbohydrate. So if you weigh it, it might weigh 200 grams, you know that's 100 grams of carbs. So it's pretty simple to figure out. If you have any questions about calculating it, happy to help. Otherwise, I'm sure you guys are very switched on and will be able to nail that. So yeah, aim for that 80 grams of carbs an hour, and electrolytes in the morning when you wake up. In general life, but especially if you're out training, hit those electrolytes. You can buy them in little tablets from the pharmacy or chemist. They have these little cylinders with about 10 electrolyte tablets in them. They're easy because you can put them in your pocket, in your backpack, have them at work, and you just drop them into the water and they fizz and release their minerals that you need. Otherwise, you can get a sachet, like we'll show you, from Pure or anyone makes a sachet which is the same thing, but it's in a scoop form. So you scoop the powder in and that dissolves. So yeah, definitely recommend hitting that, or just your sea salt, grind it into your cup of tea or your warm water in the morning. So we're going to wrap it up there. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Absolutely stoked to share this info with you guys, and if I've missed anything, let me know. If I haven't been clear on anything, please let us know and ask those questions in the comments. Also hit that subscribe button, and thanks for tuning in. See you next time.